welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. We're going to take a look at this up and coming new moon in the sign of Cancer. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel. That way you're alerted when we have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, trying to help you guys make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know, where is this new moon taking place in your chart, and what are your plans to celebrate this new moon in Cancer? Any interaction with the channel really helps the channel grow. It gets this video out to YouTube. It really supports the algorithm so other people can benefit from this information. So I appreciate your guys' support and also your memberships. All right, guys, so we're a little early, but I am actually really looking forward to this new moon. I think it's a really beautiful lunation. It's got a lot of things working for it. It's almost perfect. I know it's hard to believe, but this is a well-welcomed energy, I think, in the month of July, and it's likely going to be something that is deeply healing, transformative, and very, very emotional. Now, the new moon in Cancer is going to be taking place on July 5th, 2024. Depending on your time zone, adjust your time zones accordingly. I know we have people all over the world, but we're going to see this new moon around 3:57 p.m. Pacific time, 5:57 p.m. Central time, and 6:57 p.m. Eastern time, at least here in the States. And this new moon will be at 14 degrees of Cancer. So if you have anything from 12 to 16 degrees of Cancer, whether that's a sun, moon, rising, or personal planet, this is going to be a little bit more potent for you in a very, very good way. So when we look at the new moon, we have a new moon roughly every 28 days. This is a restart and a brand new cycle. We will see this manifest over the immediate next 2 to 4 weeks when we get into the next new moon, which will be in Leo. I want to remind you guys also that we are going to have a blue moon in July. So when we get to the end of July, there will be a second full moon in Capricorn. So this is a really powerful time to do a lot of work in the Cancer area of your chart. And eventually in 6 months' time, this will become a full moon in Cancer. So you can see the results for the next 2 to 4 weeks, but really this is going to be building over the next 6 months. And new moons are brand new, fresh starts. The moon is in its home sign of Cancer, so it's almost kind of like a homecoming. I'm liking the fact that Venus is close by because it does kind of bring up themes relating to Venus in regards to this particular lunation. So setting intentions in regards to home decor, finding a home and finding a comfortable space, bringing in more abundance, working on relationship manifestation, really sky's the limit with this particular new moon. And finally, we're starting to see that Venus is about to separate from the sun. So she's been really close in recent weeks. She's kind of felt like overstimulated, and we haven't really been able to see some of the positive effects of Venus. And I think that we're going to see a lot of sweetness come from this particular lunation. Now, the degree that's going to be having the new moon is 14 degrees. So when we apply degree theory, this is like a connection to Taurus. And when we think about 14 degrees, it has associations with financial opportunities, gift giving and receiving, deep emotional bonds, and also it can be about invoking some very strong emotions. So if you guys are wanting to do work when it comes to self-esteem, if you're wanting to manifest more money, if you are wanting to bring more sweetness and beauty and harmony into your life, this is definitely the new moon that you want to do that. Now, when I look at the Sabian symbol, we're going to look at the Sabian symbols for 15 degrees because we're going to round up. So I'll read to you guys 15 degrees of Cancer to see what the symbols say and what to kind of be aware of and watch for, just to give us a little bit more, I think, context. So 15 degrees of Cancer, a group of people who have overeaten and enjoyed it. The theme is satisfaction. The symbol speaks to a man's enjoyment of the fruits of his labor while at the same time cautioning against hoarding, gluttony, and overindulgence. The image of a group of people who have overeaten and enjoyed it dramatizes the fullness of shared experience with others, but it also points to the necessity of using discretion and inevitable consequences of overcompensating for lack in one area by going overboard in another. The image suggests that the individual who develops inner richness will never feel empty and deprived or try to make the present moment last forever out of fear of a barren tomorrow. At its highest, it represents exceptional competence and passion for life. Watch for lack of self-control and tendency to engage in excess. The accent is on overindulgence. You may be inclined to overdo it or go overboard in some manner today. Your greatest advantage lies in knowing when it's time to stop and practicing moderation. Guard against living too fast or too hard out of fear that time or things are running out for you. Don't be greedy. Stepping stones are satisfaction, gratification, enjoyment, abundance, fullness, extravagance, luxury, overindulgence, gluttony, excess, indiscretion, and the list goes on. So you guys kind of get the vibe for this. It's interesting to me, especially considering that this is in a Taurus degree, so it can be about overdoing it when it comes to what we are buying, what we possess, what we have in our homes, what we're eating, you know, that kind of stuff. But also Venus's connection. Venus is very close to this particular moon. So when we think about Cancer, Cancer is the sign ruled by the moon, so it's very emotionally influenced. So on one hand, there can be a tendency to feel very generous with other people with this particular new moon. And a lot of this is about giving and supporting, not holding on to everything and kind of keeping it for ourselves. I see a lot of that because of the trines to Saturn. But I also think about how the moon is the dispositor of Venus, which is in a sextile to Mars and Uranus. So it can also be saying that this very kind of abundant energy that comes with this brand new moon, we're feeling incentivized to give things that we build, that we grow, that we create. So there can be a sense of tons of Taurus related things, lots of flowers, lots of food, lots of gardening, lots of also focusing on our resources, and that this sense of what we're building is very emotionally charged. Like there's something that we're really focusing on when it comes to our home and our private lives or our families or the life that we're trying to create that's incentivizing us to want richness. But Uranus and Taurus teaches us that we don't have to have things in order to feel abundant, right? I think we're all kind of reworking the way that we look at what it means to be wealthy, and that we may feel wealthy in a sense of, you know, what we have in our life, our friends, our health, right? A roof above our heads. So I encourage you guys to lean more into the sense of redefining what it means to be abundant, or redefining what it means to be wealthy in your life right now. I think a lot of this is also about taking stock of what we already have. Now, when we look at the new moon and its significance in terms of what you want to be working with, obviously fresh starts. So look at where Cancer is in your chart. That is the area of your life where you're going to be having a new beginning. You want to know exactly what that house means. And if you guys stay tuned to the end of this video, I will take you through the 12 rising signs. So that way you have some food for thought as to where you can be setting your intentions. But Cancer in general, and the moon being at home in Cancer, is going to add this layer of home, family, emotional well-being, and also how we feel about these themes. Cancer is a water sign. It's the 4th sign of the zodiac ruled by the moon, and it's a cardinal sign, which means it's active. So we are acting on our emotions. Now that can be good in a sense of emotions incentivizing us to want to take some kind of action, but it also means that we can be reacting to things very emotionally at this time as well. Cancer is symbolized by the crab because they have this very, protective nature, and they're also known to carry their homes on their backs. So they're very highly intuitive, in touch with their emotions. They possess a very nurturing nature, and this makes them natural caregivers in relationships. They value home, family, and emotional security, and are often seeking comfort in familiar environments and tradition. So when we look at the moon in Cancer, we're saying basically that it's in its domicile. So it's in the sign that it rules. And I really feel like this is where the moon can express its qualities most naturally and most powerfully. The moon is also exalted in the sign of Taurus. So it's really interesting to see the moon very close to Venus, a sign traditionally associated with Taurus, as well as the sextile to Mars in Taurus, which is really incentivizing us to act on our emotions and to really think about where we are cultivating an energy, where we are protecting and nurturing and nourishing something, and feeling that push because of Mars' connection to the North Node to see something grow. I would really encourage you guys during this particular new moon to work with the energy of water in any capacity. New moons in Cancer are really wonderful for spending time by a beach or a lake or water. It can also be about like taking a bath and ritualizing and kind of clearing things away. It's a wonderful time also to do stuff within your home. So if you have new intentions in regards to your home, whether it's like do-it-yourself projects, or if you're looking for a new home, or if you're kind of preparing to make plans with your family, you know, over the summer, it's a good time to be doing that. But yeah, when I say work with water, stay hydrated. You know, you can put together like a quick batch of like herbs that you can boil or steam and add some salt, maybe some lemon, and like clean the counters and clean your floor. That's a wonderful way to kind of incorporate a little kitchen magic into your new moon for this particular lunation. You can also focus on affirmations that are going to support your emotional well-being and your home life. I recommend putting them somewhere where you're going to see them regularly in your home. This is a great new moon also for emotional release and releasing any emotions that have been holding you back. You guys also may benefit from doing any kind of work with the moon. Now, although the moon is dark, you can collect water under the new moon to use in your rituals for cleansing and clearing, especially considering the new moon represents fresh starts and new beginnings. Now, I really like working with, because of the trines to Saturn, I like the idea of also working with oils. So if you're somebody who likes to work with diffusers, or maybe you like to have like an oil lamp or aromatherapy, using lavender, ylang ylang, and jasmine are wonderful kind of scents that you can use during this time. You know, lavender is going to help with relaxation and emotional balance. Jasmine is going to really help with emotional healing and bringing happiness. And ylang ylang is going to help support emotional balance and bring harmony. Now, the crystals that are associated with Cancer for this new moon would definitely be moonstone. This is going to enhance your intuition and also your emotional balance. But also I'd recommend using some black tourmaline. This will provide grounding and protection during this time, so that way you can create your safe space. You can also consider using rose quartz. That's a great option as well. I like rose quartz, and I also like using white opal because this is reflective and it helps work with our intuition. And if you're wanting to work on some abundance stuff, you want to bring in some more money, you can use citrine because this is going to enhance creativity and also promote abundance, since this new moon is going to be conjunct Venus. Cancer also has associations with pearls, seashells, anything that's kind of connected to the sea or the beach. And so I like this new moon for putting out kind of Venusian things. And so that can be perfumes, that can be flowers, seashells, anything that's kind of connected to pearl jewelry. That can be seen as a beautiful way of incorporating Venus into your rituals for this new moon. Now, when we look at the themes of this particular moon, I kind of draw the themes based upon the aspects that are going on at the time of the new moon. And one of the most significant aspects that I can see that this is going to be making is not just the conjunction to Venus, but also the trine to Saturn. So when we have a new moon that's in trine to Saturn in Pisces, this is basically a blend of emotional depth and responsibility and spiritual growth. This aspect encourages you to reflect on your emotional foundations and also your relationships and the structures that support your life. With this new moon, you may feel a strong desire to nurture and protect your loved ones and your home, as well as establish a new foundation for your future. Now, by the time you guys are having this new moon in Cancer, Saturn is now retrograde in the sign of Pisces. We'll be working with this retrograde for the better part of the next several months, at least until we get to around mid-November when it goes direct. But if you think about the most recent new moon, full moon that we had in Capricorn, Saturn was direct. We saw an opposition between the moon in Capricorn where it was debilitated, finding it difficult to move through the heavy emotions that were kind of going on out in the skies. And it was in polar opposition to the sun and also Mercury and Venus in Cancer. We probably felt a little pulled in two directions in our lives, and we may have felt a little bit more emotionally dissatisfied with what was going on in our private life. So with this new moon, we have the opportunity to refill our own cup, or chalice, I guess in the case of the water signs. So here we have not just the new moon, but also Venus in a trine to Saturn. So I see this as like an opportunity to really take responsibility and take a practical approach to managing our emotions and our relationships at this time. You may find yourself setting boundaries or making changes that support your emotional well-being and the well-being of those around you. With the trine to Saturn, it's time to focus on building a strong foundation for your future, both your personal life and also your spiritual journey. Now, another thing that comes to mind is the sextile that we see from the new moon to Mars, which is emotionally motivating. It feels passionate and, very, I guess, like daring. Although Mars in Taurus is a little bit more slow and sensual, but almost like we're feeling incentivized to take action because of this new moon. It's saying, okay, our feelings are helping kind of get things in order, telling us what we need to be working on, where we need to be taking more initiative. I think with Taurus and Venus sextiles, this is very what is comfortable, what is going to feel good, what is going to really cushion and nurture the emotions and help us feel better in our bodies. So a lot of this can also be about how we are navigating and managing, taking action, Mars, when it comes to our desires, when it comes to our resources, when it comes to the food that we're eating, the way that we're spending money. And it's very kind of like comfort food, security, kind of finding your cozy space energy and getting comfortable in making decisions about our long-term plans, right? Saturn. So whether that be our relationships, whether that be our home life, our careers, what have you, that seems to be like the focus. It's not about what we can get done in the immediate next 2 to 4 weeks, right? Saturn is retrograde. So it's saying, well, what can we get done over the next 6 months? And how can we review through that Saturn retrograde and revise our dreams, our dream home, right? Our dream job, and really using our emotions to help better kind of navigate the direction where we're going in our life. Something that I did bring up in this most recent astro weather, but I really feel like I didn't touch on it enough, so I want to kind of talk about it now, is that just prior to this new moon, we see a number of squares to the north and south node. And this is actually something, as you guys are watching this at the end of June, if you're watching at the end of June, it's happening now. So we saw Mercury come into a square with the north and south node last week. And when we look at the nodes of the moon, these are not planets, although some Vedic astrologers would argue that these are kind of like shadow planets. These are markers in the sky that are connected to the moon. The north node is talking about where we are all collectively going, at least until the beginning of 2025, what we're moving towards, right? So that north node in Aries is about independence. It is about self-sufficiency. It is about confronting things, initiating things, right? It's a cardinal fire sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So it's really just about getting started. We don't have to figure out the end result yet, but we have to get something started. And the south node in Libra has been about collectively undoing or releasing codependency, relationships, indecisiveness, where we're not feeling supported, where we're losing our identity in other people. So we've seen this been manifesting since spring of 2023 as like a lot of change in relationships, and through that change, really realizing who we are in our core identity. So much about identity is connected to Aries. So as an evolutionary astrologer, something that I really focus on in my one-on-one sessions with clients is what's going on with the nodes. Do clients have trines or sextiles, aspecting the nodes, which is kind of helping them evolve in this lifetime if you believe in reincarnation? Do they have conjunctions to the nodes, which is really reinforcing that they have to do some kind of significant work? Do they have squares to the nodes, which represent that they have kind of skipped steps, or that they've been a little reluctant maybe to make these changes or integrate some of these lessons, and now in this lifetime they have to do that? Maybe you guys have heard the term skip steps, but that's really where that comes from, that the soul has been kind of playing hopscotch, and avoiding certain lessons, and now this time they kind of have to show up and do it. Anyway, in transit, it represents, squares to the nodes, a moment in time where I feel like we have more control over our destiny. And I do believe that we have free will, although I feel like at the end of the day with astrology, it never ceases to amaze me that usually the astrology does prevail. And when we see squares, I feel like in transit, and also in a natal chart, we have a moment in time where we can actually make change. We can consciously say, I want to do something different. I want to move away from past patterns. I want to move more into my north node or to my dharma. So when we think about planets squaring the nodes, we have to really integrate that particular planet. So I'll go back even further. I'll show you guys when Mercury came into a square first. So it looks like Mercury was squaring the north and the south node, and that was kind of happening round about June 22nd and 23rd. Okay, so the square is when it's at a hard 90-degree angle from the north and the south node, right? They're all cardinal signs. Ironically, when this happened, it was just after the full moon in Capricorn, and the moon was in opposition to Mercury square the node, so it was kind of like having to do the heavy work, the heavy lifting, having conversations, and stepping up to the plate and saying how we really feel. Mercury in Cancer is about being able to express our intellect and our communication in an emotional way where we're reflecting. Likely this felt challenging because the moon was the dispositor in opposition to Mercury, and we were like, I want to say this, but I'm trying to figure out how to say it, and it feels kind of challenging, to like overcome, maybe the rational mind was kicking in. That's like, okay, this is going to be a lot of work, but the emotional body was saying, no, this is how I feel. So that was the square to Mercury squared the node. So the 22nd and 23rd could have felt like fateful conversations that were taking place, significant information, downloads, things that you're recognizing or feeling and putting it into words. So the next aspect we're going to have, which is going to be taking place pretty much on Wednesday today, depending on if you work with the true nodes or not, you might be feeling a little early. We have Venus square the north and south node. So Venus represents obviously harmony, beauty, design, value, pleasure, relationships. But Cancer, I think, everybody kind of stereotypes Cancer as like, oh, it's the family and it's your home. And, it may be in a place of your chart that is not that. Cancer is about the past, and it talks about where we come from. It talks about past situations, ends of situations, completions, reflecting on things. And it can also be like this kind of like gestational energy as well. When we think about Cancer and the connection to the fourth house, it's like the womb of the natal chart. So this represents basically like the full moon, the fullness of the moon. When we think about pregnancy, that last month where it is very visible that you're getting ready to, give birth and have a kid. And the life actually comes from Leo, because that is the physical, kind of fire energy of life coming into the body, and it represents the child, and it represents that roar that we have when we take our first breath. So if you don't resonate with, this is a new moon that's about, creating a new intention with my home, it can mean in that area of your life, what is gestating? What are you focusing on growing? And what do you realize emotionally you need to nurture and take care of a little bit more? So as you're watching this early on Tuesday, Venus square the north and the south node. This is an interesting one because Venus rules the south node, and in recent months, Venus has been moving away from, the conjunction with the north node in Aries, which was about kind of going after what we were most passionate about. Now I think with these squares, we are now reflecting on, okay, I've made some moves, I've taken some action, like how do I feel about that? Certainly fateful relationship events can kind of happen when we see Venus square the north and south node. I see the squares to the nodes as like forks in the road, where a decision is to be made or something has to happen, or we have to kind of pick and choose, what direction we're going in. It is at an 11, so it can feel like a make or break situation for some of us in relationships or friendships or relationships to our home, our mothers, the women in our family, our physical location, the country that we live in. Certainly 11s are colorful because this is like when all hell kind of breaks loose. This is kind of like an Aquarius, like Uranian degree where something is speeding up very rapidly. And so I think about when this is happening, we're going to be experiencing a trine to the moon. So we've got the moon in the sign of Pisces, which is very reflective and sensitive and compassionate. And it is going to be trining the sun, so things feel like it's kind of in flow, and it's really intuitive and very psychic. And then Venus is trining the moon in the sign where Venus is in her exaltation. So we could make the assumption that if we really love something, we set it free, right? I think so much about Pisces is self-sacrifice. It's about releasing, it's undoing, it's letting go. It can also be about charity. It can be about giving and being generous and doing what we can for other people, and that makes us feel good. Like Moon Venus contacts are about what feels good. But it also can be a little sad, and it can be a little somber. There can be this sense of we're recognizing that, you know, maybe some certain relationships or friendships or jobs or living situations or periods of our lives that have kind of run their course, and that it's time to set something free. You're going to have to really tap into your intuition Wednesday and Thursday. These are going to be very, very intuitive, very watery days, because we have so many planets going through Cancer and Pisces that for a lot of us, we can really be in our fields. We can be very emotional, very sensitive. I think in a global way, this is going to be really talking to, you know, the Mercury trine Saturn, which is about how we are discussing and talking about having boundaries and borders. Now, this can be about having better emotional boundaries and not like allowing some people to kind of impede in our emotional space or in our homes or in our safe or secure zones. We may feel like we have to, in order to have better kind of emotional health with this new moon, that we need to, basically like draw a line in the sand with what we will and will not tolerate emotionally. But out in the world, I think we're going to hear a lot about immigration. We're going to hear a lot about boundaries and borders. We're going to hear a lot about how collectively the moon reflects our emotions. People are very emotional and feeling helpless as the moon approaches Saturn, because they're feeling like there is lack of control when it comes to boundaries and borders and dissolving of borders, and the impact that this is having on us, all of us, internationally on a national level. Cancer is about your home country and where you live. It's about your history and where you come from, and the food your ancestors ate, and the way that they would run their homes or their families, and what those homes used to look like and those neighborhoods used to look like, right? Mercury deals with neighborhoods. So there's going to be a lot of people going like, this is not the country I remember growing up in, or this is not the state or the city I remember growing up in, and feeling a sense of mourning and loss for what once was had, and the impact that I think we're seeing with certain parts of the world where immigration is just completely changing what certain places look like, and almost like dissolving the culture and also the connection that people once had to their homeland. So that's one way of looking at it. Certainly Venus square the North and the South Node, I think for a lot of us is going to be having us ask ourselves, if we love something so much, what are we willing to do to protect it, right? Venus is going to be incoming to this trine with Saturn as well after the square. And then as we're approaching the new moon, the last planet to square the North and the South Node is going to be the Sun. And it looks like that's going to be kind of taking place closer to what appears to be the second, just a couple days prior to the new moon. And when the Sun squares the nodes, I find that this is probably going to be less, this is going to be the most visible, right? Mercury is always going to kind of pull ahead of the Sun unless it's, in a retrograde. But Mercury was the first one to go, okay, we're talking about it. And then Venus squared the nodes and it went, now I'm feeling it. Now the Sun's going to square the nodes and we're going to go, now I'm seeing it. So the Sun is about ego. The Sun is about our creativity, our joy. It's about the men in our lives. It's about leadership. Certainly there's going to be lots of talk and discussion about, especially with the moon being the ruler of the Sun, and the moon's going to be conjunct Jupiter. Where are we going? What direction are we going as a nation in regards to our leaders? This will be coming into the dark moon. So this is generally when people get a little crabby and we start to see things kind of like wind down a little bit. Certainly moon Jupiter is very chatty, very positive, optimistic, communicative, but it's playing off of Mercury, which is in opposition to Pluto, which means there's going to be a lot of intense communication and talk leading up to this new moon about change in leadership. Every single time you guys see planets go into the first couple degrees of Leo, it's about leaders, it's about generals, it's going to be about entertainers and creatives, and the challenge that they are faced, with some kind of public outcry. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Venus will make an opposition here. The Sun will make an opposition here. And this is an interesting couple degrees to watch, because this is where the Mars retrograde will be later this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of things happen over the next month or so with these oppositions that are going to be really playing out in a much bigger way at the end of 2024, where we're going back and reworking something about leadership. I think with the sun square the nodes, it's where it's like the universe is shining a flashlight and kind of saying like, this is important. Pay attention to this. You know, this is where you're going to do your work. So there may be some epiphany or some awareness or something that kind of comes up just before the new moon when that sun squares the north and the south node. And at least the sun is a positive planet. It does need to shine. It means that it has no other choice but to shine. And maybe being a little bit more optimistic about the fact that you're doing something different, right? 11 degrees is about kind of going against the grain, being a little rebellious, doing something unusual. So it may even be that right around the 2nd is when you kind of have that hunch or that feeling that's like, you know what, this is actually what direction I'm going to go with this. It's going to be a little bit different. And you have to let your intuition and your emotions kind of guide the way. Very same day, this is when we see Venus come into a trine with Saturn, which is incredibly harmonious. This means that plans, decisions, relationships, money, everything's going to coming into alignment. Granted, Saturn is retrograde, and you know, one thing I will say about that is that Saturn retrograde, you know, Saturn is the lord of karma. So, you know, I think those of you guys who have been working really hard in the Saturn area of your life in Pisces, you have to stay the path. Don't slack off. You have to be consistent. Remember what I said about the teacher leaving the classroom? If you continue to stay diligent and on top of your Saturn stuff, then you will actually see results. They won't really be seen until November when Saturn goes direct. But this is a wonderful day with Venus trine Saturn to be like, okay, I do want to have the relationship talk, you know, or I am really focusing on my long-term home and, you know, financial plans or goals or where my career is going. It's very much in alignment. And I love that the moon is playing off of this because we've got Jupiter ruling Pisces, we've got the moon ruling Cancer, they're in conjunction. And I feel like for some of us, this transit happening behind the sun is going to be a dream. It's going to be something intuitive. We're going to just have this epiphany. Something's going to kind of come to us and we're going to be like, now I know what to do. So the transits leading up to this particular new moon are incredibly important. When we see, you know, times where planets are squaring the north and the south node, it does bring tension, but that tension promotes growth. And the aspect encourages you to reflect on your emotional foundations, you know, your relationships and the structures of support in your life. So you may feel a much more strong need to nurture something or protect something because the square focal point is happening in Cancer. I think this is also about taking the lead in your relationships and in your own personal growth. And it's a time to really focus on your needs and desires and taking action to achieve your goals. With that South Node in Libra, you may be holding on to old patterns and relationships that are no longer serving you, and you want to let go of codependent tendencies and learn to stand on your own 2 feet. Yes, this can bring tension in relationships, but I think Venus trine Saturn is saying that it's necessary in order to be able to better grow in the long term, and that if it's not meant to be, you can kind of release it with grace. And there can be some sense of sensitivity and like kind of reminiscing, but like knowing that it's ultimately for the best. I think all of this is really kind of saying that it's a time to focus on communication and compromise and working together to kind of balance things out in a harmonious way. So let's take this back to the new moon on the 5th. So outside of the, you know, conjunction to Saturn, the conjunction to Venus, the trine to Saturn, the sextile to Mars, we've also got the new moon and Venus that's kind of slightly in a sextile to Uranus. So there's something emotionally stirring about this. There's something exciting about the future. I see Uranus as kind of like unconventional, different, fast forward thinking, you know, sudden kind of being able to pivot. And we're seeing Mars coming into that conjunction very soon. So, you know, we're going to lose it here because Uranus is kind of pulling ahead and Saturn is now retrograding, but they're still in a sextile. So we're being strong and focused and having a sense of purpose and vision and the willingness to take our time allows us to have sustained growth. Taurus allows us to have, you know, to make the changes and they don't feel so sudden or so scary. And we see this beautiful sextile, trine that's playing out, where there's a lot of earth and water elements that are kind of mashed up in this. It does seem to indicate that, you know, we have to take into consideration our emotions before we take some kind of action or before we build something. We see also Venus that is building into a trine with Neptune, which is extremely positive, okay? So we've got You know, lots of fantasy and romance and inspiration and compassion. I love Venus trine Neptune for, you know, dates by the ocean and going to like paint and sip night, or, you know, relaxing and making dinner at home and listening to like an amazing like album or like record. It's blending that energy of beauty and inspiration and really kind of touching on all of the senses, and how we're able to kind of create more beautiful, harmonious environments within our home. So you guys will be surprised, you know, what adding a little bit of like a Venus touch to your home will create, you know, bringing in fresh flowers or bringing them in from the garden, or maybe deciding that you're wanting to work with aromatherapy, or you're wanting to add pops of color or other things to create a much more kind of harmonious environment that's going to be conducive not only to being more productive, but also to being able to feel like you're kind of like in your Zen den. You know, very much Saturn and Neptune is about like creating that space where we have a structured space, a routine, or kind of container for all of this spiritual and kind of imaginative work. So if you're somebody who's like, well, you know, I'd like to enjoy my home space more, but I can't move, I would be like, great, open up all the windows, blast some music, you know, clean the floors, rearrange the furniture, bring in some color and some flowers, and you'll be surprised how much different the space is going to feel, and also emotionally nurturing as well. So it's about kind of navigating some of these changes on an intuitive level. We also are going to see that, you know, Jupiter in the sign of Gemini is in a sextile to the North Node by about a degree, a little more than a degree. Jupiter is about growth. It's about abundance and joy, and it's also about our humor. Jupiter in Gemini is very humorous, where we're expanding the mind and we're learning things and we're sharing and we're talking more. Jupiter is also forming a trine to the South Node. So through expansion in our knowledge, communication, writing, speaking, reading, we're able to realize and recognize what we're ready to like let go of. So it's interesting that this is a new moon, which usually we set new intentions, but I think with Jupiter trying the South Node, it's actually really saying, hold on a second, you know, let's clean house, let's make space for what's coming in that's new. And let's be optimistic and also open to these new things that we are going to be starting. So it's funny because so much of the square, I think, from Cancer to the North and South Node and Aries and Libra is like, I want to do this, but I'm afraid. And, you know, Cancer energy is like very like mama bear energy. You know, if you've ever seen how a mother bear is about its cubs, you know, they're super cute and cuddly when you see them running around on camera. And then when somebody approaches them or somebody gets nearby, like, you know, mama bear kind of kicks into action. So you may want to kind of take stock and like note where you're like, I'm afraid, but then something kind of happens, like an event happens or a conversation happens that triggers something in you that makes you go, no, like I'm going to protect that. Or like, I really, you know, love this thing, or like, I'm not willing to give this thing up. That emotional impulse, that's the Cancer impulse. That's like, no, I got to do this. That natural instinct to want to protect and want to serve and take care of something. That may likely be coming up during the time of the new moon. And that's going to show you exactly where it's like that thing that you're getting really emotional about, or that thing that you're afraid to do, but you're very passionate about, like that's the thing that you should be doing. So watch for that. I think the only challenge, you know, there's always something going on in like the, you know, astrological jam band in the sky. Like very rarely do we see a very perfect kind of lunation. Nothing's perfect in life. Things are messy. We see two aspects that can be challenging, and one of them is fading, the other one is kind of like waxing. So we've got Mercury, which is about the mind and communication. It's coming out of an opposition to Pluto. Basically, you know, Mercury in Leo, it's loud, proud, boastful. It is very creative. It's very independent. It's like literally, you know, putting the actor or the comedian or the performer on stage and being like, do your thing, shine, right? That's playing off of the sun, by the way, which is in conjunction to the moon and Venus. So we are going to have, I think, very strong reactions to things that we are the most passionate about. But Mercury can be about how we communicate, the messages we receive, what information is coming in, what we're learning. Mercury has recently had an opposition to Pluto a couple days prior to this new moon, which means we have felt emotionally
and I guess intellectually kind of under pressure. I talked a lot about how the opposition between Leo and Aquarius is the individual passions and love versus, you know, the collective. And so this is where we see the individual stand out from the crowd. I think a lot of people are going to be feeling a little, I guess, like overwhelmed with Mercury in opposition to Pluto. It can create lots of issues of communication and power struggles. There can also be a sense of feeling like the odd man out in saying something or doing something and kind of going against the grain, and that feels threatening in some capacity. I do think that where the sun being connected to Mercury and all of this is really kind of saying, like, you know, do it anyway. You know, it might be scary, do it anyway, say it anyway, you know, do the things that you need to do. And if there's something that you really stand for, then protect that at all costs, especially if it's about speech, communication, and self-expression. You know, you can't help but apologize if you feel a certain way, right? Like, there's nothing you can do about what you feel. And some people might be feeling like it's really difficult to kind of express those emotions and almost like threaten to be able to kind of share some sense of pride, pride for their family, pride for the home they live in, pride for the country they live in, and feeling threatened about talking about what you love. And I think, yeah, a lot of people are going to paint this as like being like, you know, like some kind of over-the-top nationalist for the country that they're living in, when in reality, I think Venus and the sun and the moon trine Saturn is saying, no, we protect the things that we love, right? We create that space. There's a reason why houses have front doors, and also, you know, why we have fences and stuff, because we're protecting what we love and everything that's inside, which is so valuable. And I'm not necessarily talking about people. I'm not talking about things. I'm talking about the people inside. So you're going to hear a lot about patriotism. You're going to hear a lot about national pride. And you're going to hear a lot about the sacrifices that people have made in order to protect their homeland. That's definitely going to be a big theme as well. Another challenging aspect, and this is something that's kind of building, and you're going to see this pretty much like the 5th through the 7th, is Venus in Cancer is coming into an opening square with Chiron in Aries, okay? So, well, Chiron and Aries, healing one's wounds, tending to one's wounds, definitely feeling like the oddball or kind of like pushed out of society. That's very much a theme kind of connected with Chiron, being the outsider, being rejected. But we see with Venus square, it's like, you know, maybe where that rejection actually sends us into a place of retreat, Cancer. Where we're feeling kind of like the black sheep of the family, you know, where we're feeling like the odd family in the neighborhood, or we're feeling like we're different because we're choosing to navigate home and family life a little bit different than other people. Certainly people can feel very sensitive also about these themes as well. You know, Aries is the individual, so we could see a lot of people who are going, well, I don't own a home, or I don't have a spouse, or I don't have a family, or I have issues with children, or I've got, you know, a difficult relationship with my mother. And so we can be feeling more sensitive to some of these wounds as well. That can definitely be a theme here. And I would say that this is about digging deep and asking us, like, how deep does this go? How deep do the roots go, right, Cancer? What is the root cause of some of these issues? And, you know, do we have issues in relationships because we've not really maybe seen some of the healthiest examples, not just in our own family, but just in general in society, of strong archetypes for families and home lives, you know? I think there's something to be said about that. I read I don't know if it was like a meme, but it was like a post that was kind of going around recently, and it was saying like, show me a TV show that's been put out in the last 20 years where you see a quote unquote, kind of like Leave It to Beaver, you know, type of family dynamic. And I'm saying this specifically because this correlates with Aries, Capricorn, Cancer stuff. I'm just repeating it. Show me a TV show that has 2 parents that are together, you know, one where one or both are working and there isn't some kind of, you know, parental drama, and that, you know, you have healthy dynamics with the family, and it's not just like a single parent, an issue with one of the kids, you know, a dysfunctional kind of situation with another relative, or like a healthy, stable home environment. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, I don't really feel like we've seen that I can't think of where we've seen that recently in like recent big, you know, TV shows. Granted, I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, but I was thinking about that and I was like, yeah, that's like so much the square to the north and the south node right now in Chiron, you know? I'm seeing a lot of posts also online about people being like, I'm having, you know, millennials being like, I'm having a hard time meeting people. It's really difficult for me to find a partner and I just don't know how to connect with somebody and I'm feeling kind of hopeless about the world and with the direction of where things are going and if I'm ever going to be able to like afford a home. This is very Cancer placement square North Node and Chiron and Aries, where individuals are really struggling and they're really now speaking out and being vulnerable and emotional about the fact that they're finding it difficult to be able to have the lives that their parents or their grandparents had. And the impact that this is having on people emotionally when we feel that break or that fracture, which very much can be the square to the North and South Node, to our family, to our roots, to our heritage, to a safe space. This is also with the trines to Saturn and Neptune that we're seeing really touching on also like the issue with homelessness, the issue with lack of support and security for, you know, those who don't have food, don't have shelter, and those who are also feeling that lack of connection, I think, to support from leadership, because Saturn is so much about leadership. So you're going to feel this stuff. You know, there's more positive than there is negative here. Let some of the squares that come from the build up to this new moon really show you where you want to dig deep and ask yourself, you know, is there something that goes a little bit deeper than just what's happening at the surface? And where can I send healing to those parts of myself or those parts of my family or those parts of my home? And really have the ability to make change, because the squares are really going to allow you to make change throughout this particular lunation. So let's go ahead and get into the 12 rising signs. Let's talk about what's going to be happening for each and every one of you guys. I'm going to give you some insight as to where you want to be paying attention to this new moon. And I am a Western astrologer. I am not a Vedic astrologer. I practice Western astrology. I'm going to be using the whole sign method for my predictions today, telling you where the new moon is going to be taking place. Really, you know, I would say the 5th and the 6th are days to set your intentions. Just after the new moon, you're going to see the moon come into conjunction with Venus, and it's still trining Saturn. So if you can't do it on the 5th, definitely do it like the morning or the evening of the 6th while you still have some of those really great transits. As a reminder, this is going to be the most active for those of you guys who have placements from 12 to 16 degrees of Cancer, sun, moon, rising, or personal planet. Now, to make the most of my predictions, I recommend listening to your ascendant sign first. This is going to tell you which area of your life you're focusing on for this new moon, and then you can listen to your sun sign, which will apply to your overall happiness, joy, and career. And this is a Cancer new moon. Listen to your moon sign, because it's very much going to resonate, I think, with your moon signs this month. You want to listen to all three to get a better understanding of what you got going on for the month ahead. If you're a Placidus user like me, then look at your chart, find where 14 degrees of Cancer is. You may have to listen to another sign to get a better idea of where that new moon is going to be seated. You can also listen to your progress chart. It's kind of choose your own adventure. All right. So we're going to start obviously with the Aries and Aries risings. What's up, guys? You've got a beautiful new moon in Cancer taking place in your natal 4th house. So we have got the moon returning home to the 4th house. The sun is there. Venus is there, which rules love, harmony, relationships, resources, and abundance for you. I think for this new moon, it's a great time to focus on your home family life. This is about making your home more comfortable, creating a much more nurturing space, and spending quality time with your loved ones. Loving the sextile to Mars, by the way. This basically means that you are feeling incentivized. You're willing to invest time, energy, resources, money to creating this beautiful space, maybe finding a new home, signing a lease. Maybe you are looking for ways to better improve your home or visiting with family. In the next month, you may find that there's just more action going on with that. With Venus in your 4th house, a woman can be coming to stay and visit with you, or it could also mean that your partner or your roommates or your family are kind of creating more beauty, more sweets, and harmony within the home, okay? The card that you get is the 4 of Swords. So interesting that this is a card that's about rest and relaxation. Let's see, meditation, renewal, solitude. This is also about gathering your thoughts, recuperating, retreat, self-protection, and peace. I kind of see this with like the trines to Saturn for some of you guys, that you're trying to create more time to do that at home. I wonder if some of you guys are trying to create like a meditation space, or you're trying to create a space where you feel like you can rest better. So it can be like within bedrooms or like other spaces. And I think that this is just about really finding the time to enjoy what you've got at home and having a little bit more downtime. Okay. Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You guys are going to be experiencing a new moon in Cancer. This will be taking place in your natal 3rd house. Now, your 3rd house for you, Taurus, this is all going to be about your communication zone. This is a time, ideally, especially because of the conjunction to Venus, your chart ruler, where you are really focusing on connecting with your mind, with your siblings, with your neighbors. This might be a time where you're also planning a trip, or you're improving something about your home or even your vehicles. You may also be focusing on expressing your emotions and your feelings more effectively. Wonderful new moon with the sextile to Mars and Uranus in your sign. I feel like if you have been feeling frustrated or impatient, if you have been feeling agitated or like you're fit to be tied, I think you are really leaning into the 3rd house transit and trying to really assess your emotions and figure out a way that you can kind of communicate that is a little bit more calm and peaceful. This can bring wonderful connections with siblings and neighbors alike, and it can bring a conversation where there is some kind of clarity between you and another person, and you're able to kind of smooth it over. Wonderful if you're wanting to launch new websites, businesses, if you're wanting to start new classes or plan a trip. And I would really recommend for you guys with this particular new moon to write your intentions down, maybe speak them out loud regularly, remind yourself of what it is that you are trying to manifest on a regular basis, okay? The card that I got for you is the King of Pentacles. Okay, so you probably love this card. This can definitely be for you, whether you're a Taurus man or woman. This is about practical leadership, prosperity, business, security, being a provider, having abundance, reliable. This is also about, being very protective and focusing on your goals. So notice that it's happening in your 3rd house. And, I think this is going to be about talking about what you value and what you're achieving and what your goals are and what you're trying to kind of bring in, which is why writing and kind of speaking your intentions into fruition is going to be like your best course of action. I feel like this is about having a better kind of hold on your thoughts and expressing your emotions in a way that is going to be a little bit kind of smoother than some of the energies with Mars and Uranus in your 1st house have been. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You'll be experiencing a new moon in Cancer in your natal 2nd house. All right, Gemini. Well, this is taking place in your house of finances. So this is the new moon where you do your money magic. Wonderful energy with Venus in conjunction. She loves being in the 2nd house. This is a great time to set financial goals and work on building a solid foundation for your future. Be mindful of your spending and focus on saving for long-term goals. I say that because of the trines that are going to be happening to Saturn, which is your 8th house lord. Good news is, as long as you are focusing on how it feels to have the money come in, how it feels to have bills paid, how it feels to have that kind of secure home zone, you should see the money follow. Really great aspects also with the trine to Saturn in your 10th house. It looks like you're really reevaluating what's going on with your career, asking yourself, is this the right direction, the right path for me? How do I feel about the money that I'm making or how I'm making money? And likely this will be a moon that you're going to see some more kind of immediate results, especially sometime around the next full moon in Capricorn, about 2 weeks after this, around the 21st of July. Sextiles to planets in your 12th house do seem to kind of insinuate that you're releasing any fears in regards to safety and security with your finances, your trust in the universe, you're visualizing, you're meditating, you're focusing on the reality that you are trying to create. So as above, so below. the card that I get for you is the Seven of Cups. That's so appropriate with that 12th house placement. The Seven of Cups. And so this is about choices. This is about judgment, having many options and opportunities. Sometimes wishful thinking, searching for purpose, indecision, or disarray. So you got to get that 12th house in order, babe. This is about not feeling super hesitant or indecisive or restless about making some changes when it comes to your financial goals, when it comes to your career and your workspace. This is also about trusting whatever is going on with the universe and knowing that the universe has your back and it's going to kind of help you provide. You just have to focus on what it feels like for that safety and security to come in. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's going on, Cancer? This is your new moon. I hope it's a good one for you. If you're having your birthday around like the 4th, 5th, or 6th, this is going to be a little bit more potent for you because your birthday is going to coincide with a new moon. So it's a fresh new start for you for this next year. With Venus being nearby, it's pretty darn sweet. So for you guys, you got a new moon in your first house of self. This is also with Venus in the first house. So some of you guys might be focusing on kind of improving something about your appearance, your hair, your clothes, your makeup, how you present yourself. And you may be taking more action because the first house is about action when it comes to your goals, especially as it pertains to your goals with your home and your living situation, maybe being a little bit more socially active with friends because of the connection to Venus in your 11th and 4th house. This is about you though, okay? So really focus on self-care, nurturing your own needs. It's a time to prioritize your emotional well-being and your personal growth. I really feel like with the Sun and Venus being in this first house, it's also really highlighting what do I value? What do I love? What am I giving myself? What do I need more of? And you've got a lot of support from like-minded friends or networks or other people with the sextiles to your 11th house. And then obviously you have got, you know, the trine to Saturn. So it means that you're following some kind of program, something structured. You have a teacher, a mentor, or a guru who's kind of helping you with this process. Perhaps for you guys, the square to the north and south node is a turning point where you're realizing like, I have to put me first. And if I really want to feel like I have more authority out in the world or more control when it comes to my career and my reputation, then I need to be willing to actually not be afraid to take action and kind of uproot things from the past. So past relationships, past family situationships, what else? Home and living situations that you're willing to change. This is really pushing you to kind of come out of your shell, right? The card that I get for you is the Page of Cups. I love that. Page of Cups can very much be about a Cancer. It can also be about a Scorpio or a Pisces. This is talking about being idealistic, being a dreamer, sensitive, nurturing. This can also be about children or younger people. This is also about the possibilities of new relationships, which is interesting because Venus is in the mix and Venus does have a connection to your 4th house. So it can be about looking at relationships in the past in like a fond way, but kind of still doing what's best for you. It can be about love coming to you with Venus in your first house. It can be about people, you know, wanting to get in touch with you. And I think that's going to stem more from the planets in Cancer trining Saturn in Pisces, which is the ruler of your 7th. So it can be with new relationship with teachers, new relationships with people who are further away, new relationships with education and some kind of training. But definitely, yeah, relationships with the moon and a trine to Saturn. I mean, this is planting a seed basically to bring more love in if you're looking for it, Cancer. Okay, good luck, guys. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You'll be doing this new moon in Cancer in your natal 12th house. All right, Leo, so here's the deal. When you have a new moon in the 12th house, it's kind of marking that period as you're getting ready to come into your birthday season. So this is where we reevaluate what's gone on all year, what we're taking with us, what we're leaving behind. 12th house is very spiritual. It's about retreat, healing, and privacy. So this is a time for introspection and spiritual growth and focusing on your inner world and your inner work, developing a connection to your spiritual side. For me, I think with Venus being in the 12th house and the sun and the moon being there, it's a time where, you know, like you need a spa day. You really would benefit from, you know, meditating, taking some time alone, really reflecting on, you know, how you're feeling kind of behind the scenes. Certainly, I think that, you know, some of the trines that you're seeing to Saturn really help improve or give you perspective on relationships and vulnerability, because Saturn rules, you know, relationships and joint resources and intimacy. So it may mean that you're like, okay, I need some time away to kind of reassess, you know, some of my relationships or some of my friendships, or, you know, maybe you're just feeling a little bit more introspective and private throughout this time. With Venus being there, this is about healing the mind. This can be about doing something that's relaxing, taking a mental health day. Like I said, I like the idea of like spas and doing other things, or going and getting a massage, or even just like focusing more on having like a, you know, a solid or a quality nighttime routine where maybe you're having a little bit more luxury, you know, and kind of pampering yourself a little bit more. I read a lot of the comments from the July horoscopes, and I know that it sounds kind of rough with all the planets coming into an opposition with Pluto, but I'm going to tell you guys that Pluto is challenging you, okay? So you're going to see these planets leave your 12th house where you're retreating, and maybe you're afraid to have conflict, or you're afraid to deal with things. You just want to be left alone. And as the sun and Venus and all these planets go through Leo, it's strong for you guys. It's about putting yourself first and self-love and like doing what you want to do. All those planets are going to try in the North Node, which means you may want to travel, you may want to go back to school, you may want to focus on teaching, you might want to publish a book, but you're feeling more optimistic about where you're going. And unfortunately, some of these oppositions to Pluto is going to result in not everybody being a team player, not everybody wanting to see you grow, not everybody wanting to see you be successful or independent, you know, people wanting a piece of you or wanting to kind of try to control what you're doing. So this is a time, knowing that this is coming in, where you're like, okay, I'm coming up with a plan here, and I'm just going to kind of like recharge before I get into some of these transits later this month. But hold the line is my advice, and focus on healing. The card that I got for you is the Seven of Pentacles. Cool card for this placement. This is about long-term investments. This is also about sustained patience, perseverance, hard work, success, waiting for your harvest, and results and planning. So, you know, maybe with Venus being in the 12th house and it rules your career, you're kind of like, you know, just have recently started new jobs or taken new jobs or started new projects. And now you're like, okay, let's see how it's going to go, you know. That could be how this is manifesting. And obviously with having done a lot of work in recent weeks, now this is the time where you're able to kind of kick back a little bit and go, okay, let's see what the garden kind of grows. So I do feel like this is about positive results coming, but just having to be patient before you start to see it. Okay. Good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys will be experiencing a new moon in Cancer in your natal 11th house. All right, Virgo, so for you guys, you're having a new moon in the area of your networks, your friends, and your community. So you're setting intentions, bringing yourself to these particular topics. Definitely a great time to focus on your community and your social networks, getting involved in group activities or working on building connection with like-minded individuals. There can be family gatherings, there can be friends inviting you to their home, there can also be goals revolving around your home and family that you're kind of focusing on. And I really like the sweetness of Venus being here, because it does tell me that there's going to be some generosity. You know, Virgo, because you have Cancer in the 11th, it means that you may have friends that feel like family. So it can mean that you're just nurturing some of those relationships more. It may mean that you're celebrating things with friends. It may mean that you're joining groups and networks to help improve something about your finances. It may mean that you're joining a women's group because Venus is involved, or you're trying to maybe find love, you know, through friends and new social networks. Venus does trine Saturn, and Saturn's in your house of relationships. So that's a wonderful placement where you're either benefiting or bettering the relationships you have with friends that are kind of platonic friends, or maybe you are going to group dynamics and like hoping that you're going to kind of meet someone. The other thing that I noticed is that we also do have sextiles that are happening to your ascendant. So this does mean that it is helping you kind of tap into your Virgo energies where you're like, how can I better help the collective? And like, how can I be a better friend? And like, what do people need? Or, you know, whatever. Because Virgo risings, they always want to kind of like fix or like perfect something. So you may find the perfect group that you can kind of collaborate with. It can also be about like home related things or like design or anything in regards to like online groups that might be about cooking or gardening or anything like that. So let's see what the tarot says for you, my Virgos. You get the Knight of Swords, okay, which is kind of interesting. That's also kind of touching on Mercury, which has been in opposition to Pluto. So Knight of Swords can be about dealing with a Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini. This is about your ambitions. This is about success, assertiveness, being direct. This can also be about intellectual focuses and being a perfectionist, which is something you're good at. I think that this is about feeling more inclined to want to go and socialize and connect and like talk to people. And with the new moon in the 11th house, the more that you're getting out there and you're meeting and connecting with other people, I think the happier you're going to be. And also it might be a group or something that you can kind of share your interest and your expertise, and you're kind of feeling incentivized to kind of want to spend time with some of these people. Obviously, the sextiles to Mars and Uranus might mean that this may involve travel or learning or education or classes in some capacity. So maybe it's something that's going to be like more like kind of mentally stimulating, some kind of group that you're getting involved in. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You'll be experiencing a new moon in the sign of Cancer. This will be taking place on July 5th. I know it says the 6th, but I'm kind of moving the wheel along here, so don't get confused. All right, so you have a new moon in your 10th house, which is going to deal all with your career, your status, and your reputation. So this is a very visible time for you, Libra. I want to kind of touch on for all of the cardinal signs, first the square to the north and the south node. So Libra, new moon in the in the 10th house. This means that you are focusing on something that's new in regards to your career or your reputation. So it might be a good time to focus on your career and professional goals, taking steps to achieve your ambitions and work on building a solid reputation. Now, this is a new moon conjunct Venus, so it's especially fortuitous for you, Libra and Libra risings. It means that you are kind of front and center at some of these new things that you are going to be working on, that you're going to be sharing with the world. Venus also has connections to your 8th house of joint finances and resources and transformation. So you could be changing careers, changing jobs, changing statuses. And that does not mean just your professional life. It can mean that you're going from being single to being partnered, from being, married to being separated, and you're kind of re-emerging out in the world and showing something new about this status. New looks also can be kind of emerging with Venus being there. But I think it's really about recognition when it comes to your career, your reputation. And Cancer is also about our home and our families. So this can also be about the relationship that you have to your parents, your identity. If you're a parent and you have kids, that can be kind of coming into focus here as well. But the square to the south node is representing, I think, shedding old skin, letting an old version of yourself kind of fall away and letting something new emerge in a very kind of public, physical way. And the square to the north node means that the work and the action you've been doing with your relationships and partnerships or counselors, therapists, clients is really propping you up and kind of putting you out into the world. So you're getting support from other people. And people are encouraging you, because Aries can be about encouragement or coaching, to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, to show a side of yourself that maybe you have not shown the world before. So yes, it can feel a little uncomfortable, but I think that you're actually going to be pretty well received. And some of these changes or these reworkings of your status is helping you connect with other streams of income. It can actually really be boosting something in regards to the money that you're making. Okay, so let's see what the cards say for you. Obviously, all of that's also trine Saturn in your 6th house, Libra. So there is something to be said about staying on task, taking care of business, getting the job done, and managing your health. The card that you get, Libra, is the Chariot card, which is cool. This is the card for Cancer, by the way. So this is kind of doubling down on that energy. This is about taking action, success, movement, control, willpower, determination, opposing forces, working towards a goal. Isn't that the theme, Libra and Libra risings, right? If you've had these 2 full moons that will be taking place in your 4th house of home, where like home stuff is coming up that you might feel like has to change in regards to, you know, your outer world and your career, and that you're kind of trying to balance the 2 of them. But for some of you guys, it might be moving on or moving up or moving into an area that is brand new, and this is something that's quickly approaching. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys will be experiencing a July 5th new moon in Cancer in your natal 9th house. This is happening in a fellow sister water sign. So Scorpio, especially if you have any personal placements between, I would say, 12 and 16 degrees, you're going to be experiencing a trine. Actually, you're the one sign that's going to be experiencing a grand water trine if you've got Scorpio in your chart. Very fortuitous, very sensitive, very emotional, very healing for you, Scorpio. The 9th house full moon is all about travel, education, philosophy. This can also be the house of publishing, the house of law and legalities, far away trips. So you're setting intentions in regards to these themes. So it's definitely a good time to expand your horizons through travel or learning something new, focusing on broadening your perspective and embracing new experiences. So this is a good time where maybe you're planning travel for the rest of the year, or you're looking at taking courses or classes, or maybe you're thinking about going back to school or learning something new that can improve your career. Certainly that'll be a theme for you later this year with the Mars retrograde. But I think about how this is a new moon that is going to be in conjunction to Venus. So this is about maybe working with hidden talents, exploring foreign lands. This can also be about having kind of like more of an awareness of your subconscious relationship stuff. And Venus also rules your 7th house of relationships and committed partnerships. So single Scorpio risings, love can be found while traveling or while going back to school or learning something. It means you could fall in love with that, or you could meet somebody and fall in love. You can meet somebody in an airport, right? 9th house. It also means that there could be new female teachers coming into your life. Those of you guys who are partnered, I think that with Venus in a sextile to planets in your 7th house, we're going to see some Scorpio risings that are getting married. We're going to see some Scorpio risings that are traveling with their partner. We're going to see some Scorpio risings that are focusing on the positive side of growth when it comes to home life and family because of the sextiles to your Mars-Uranus in the 7th house. The trines to Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house really is kind of speaking to where are you learning to keep an open mind when it comes to the bigger picture of life? And are you open to the idea of relocating? Are you open to the idea of maybe starting your own business or learning more about a creative hobby? Are you open to the idea of having children? Saturn retrograde in the 5th house means you're reevaluating what's going to bring you the most joy, and that this is going to really open something up in a very big way in regards to the future of your life. So 9th house is a fortuitous house. You have some amazing aspects. I would just watch that Venus square Chiron, because it does seem that there is some like scheduling things that are coming up. It's like, well, how do we make the time to travel, or how do we make the time to see each other? But I think love will prevail. Let's take a look. The card that I got for you is the 9 of Swords. Kind of nervously laugh. I'm a Scorpio. I think that maybe this is playing off of Venus's connection to your 12th house. That can be self-undoing. It can be about subconscious fears. It can be about where you're still working through some relationship karma and kind of like letting go of stuff that maybe hasn't worked in the past. And you're trying to be more optimistic, but still there's something that keeps coming up that's like, but is it going to work? Like, is the past going to repeat itself? This can be about having anxiety about something, losing some sleep, overthinking something, thinking negatively, being pessimistic, isolated, or paranoid. So I'm wondering if this is also the Mars-Uranus stuff that's acting up, where it could be like, okay, there is a relationship situation that is progressing very quickly. It can make you anxious. It could mean that also you're feeling like you're getting to a period where there's a turning point with the relationship and it may not be working. Remember that the 9th house is, what do you believe in, right? So do you believe that everything happens for a reason? Do you believe that it's going to work itself out? Or do you have the opportunity to see whatever's going on in a relationship as an opportunity to learn? Be less focused on whether or not something is going to pan out. Be more focused on being present in what you're learning in the process, because it may actually turn out a lot better than you think, okay? Good luck, Scorpio. Get some sleep. It's a difficult card. All right, we have Sag and Sag rising. You guys are going to be doing this new moon in Cancer in your natal 8th house, which is going to deal with your private life, things that are a little bit more kind of taboo or hidden, transformative. The 8th house deals with like joint assets, resources. It's about healing. It's about intimacy. And obviously Cancer is already a sensitive sign. So putting that in the 8th house can be incredibly emotional for you. 8th house is always about change. And, the moon moves faster than any of the other planets that we look at in astrology. So I could see this as like a time where you're more open, vulnerable, and raw when it comes to emotional transformation. Be open to letting go of old patterns and embrace emotional change. The connection to Venus is really touching on your 6th house Lord, which is about health and habits. It's also very much connected to your goals and your friends. So this could be a time where maybe you're more vulnerable with other people. You're more open to your friends or your family about some of the changes that have been going on in your daily routine, your health and your habits. You may realize that this is directly tied to what you're eating or what you're kind of keeping in your home. Anytime planets go through the 8th house, there is a transformational side to it. Obviously, for you in Gemini, these are very financial new and full moons because it's taking place in your 2nd and 8th house. So you had a full moon in your 2nd house. There could have been some kind of expense or some kind of completion or conclusion in regards to, something you have to do with money. And this may be a new moon where you're more focused on, working and saving or paying off debt or having access to something else or something that other people give you. So having a new moon with Venus there, it does make me feel like it can actually really bless you. It can bring you support from other people, especially women and family members, and it can also bring increased growth when it comes to work and improvement in your health. But you're making the connection between your health and your emotions with this particular new moon. And it can feel a little startling with the sextiles to Uranus. I would lean into the trines to Saturn in your 4th house, where you're recognizing and realizing your home is changing, your family is changing, your resources are changing, and just kind of go with the flow right now. Don't feel like you need to push anything. Focus on what resources you can gather as you're coming into what will eventually be that next full moon in Capricorn later in July. The card that I got for you is the 5 of Cups. Not surprised by this card, to be honest with you. Having a new moon here definitely does go through some kind of purification. This is about working through disappointment or grief. If you have felt abandoned or unloved, or if there has been some sense of like mourning and not feeling content, this is about kind of healing that with Venus being there and kind of getting back on routine. The next card would be the 6 of Cups, which is generally where we're able to kind of look at things and go, what happened, I can process it and I can move on. Be careful not to get too stuck in your feelings. If you feel like you've been thinking about the past or stuck in the past or afraid of making change, that will stall you from being able to receive some of the good things that will come from like the magic of the beginnings and the endings in the 8th house. Good luck, Sag. We have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be doing this new moon in Cancer in your natal 7th house. And let me spin this wheel because this is going to drive me a little crazy here. So you're going to be doing this in your 7th house, Capricorn. This basically means that you're setting new intentions when it comes to relationships, partnerships, and other people. So if you're a single Capricorn rising and you're looking to mingle, this is a good time to set that intention. Equally, if you're already partnered, it might be a time where you're experiencing a little bit more love, a little bit more harmony in regards to your relationship with other people. But basically a new moon here is a good time to focus on your relationships, be open to new connections and improving your existing ones. Seventh house can also be your clients. It can be about your marketplace. If you're wanting to put out a new product, if you want to sell something, this is the time that you get ready to do it. Now we've got a new moon that is conjunct Venus, which is especially fortuitous for you. It means that when it comes to new statuses in your career, when it comes to new public relationships, when it comes to support from allies out in the workforce, new people are going to be coming in. So it's really great if you're looking for a job. It's really great if you're looking for a romantic partner or more clients. It's sweet all around. This is also a new moon that is going to be trining Saturn, which rules your chart, which means you're being benefited by this. It means that you might have people that are calling you, texting you, emailing you, trying to find you. It's a reminder from the universe that in order to receive these messages, they need to know where to go. So make sure that your phone's on. Make sure that you're creating new business cards or new websites, that you're updating your social media. Make sure that you are checking your inbox. This is also improving communications that you have with relations with family, specifically with women in the family or aunts, uncles, or cousins or siblings. Direct communication, just being honest and being vulnerable is really what's going to help you. Sextiles to your fifth house help you feel more creative, spontaneous, fun, and there's definitely an emphasis on love and dating and something evolving into what can be a very beautiful relationship. Now, the challenging side of this is that for you, my Capricorn and Capricorn risings, especially if you have anything, I would say like around like 10 to 15, 16 degrees, you'll be experiencing a grand cardinal cross because you're the one sign that's kind of missing in that cardinal cross. So if you heard me talking about how planets going through Cancer creates this square to the north and south node, obviously we're focusing more on Aries north node. So for you, it's what is my home like? What am I building? Where am I living? What's going on with my family? How are my emotions? And it's about feeling more, I think, self-made in these areas, like having your own designated space or home or apartment or room, feeling like you can make the necessary changes that you need to find a solid home base. In order to do that, you have to relate to other people as these planets in Cancer square the north and south nodes. So you have to deal with partnerships, romantic relationships, marital partners. You have to talk to family members. And so there may be a need to either be working with these people and communicating with them about home and family matters. Maybe it's also about talking to them about moving, signing leases, or traveling with the trines to Saturn. With the South Node in the 10th house in Libra, there is something that's really changing in regards to your reputation. Maybe you're moving out of old relationships with people that you used to work with and you're going solo and working from home. Maybe you're going through a separation or relationship and you're redefining who you are at home, and that's changing something about how you are relating to some of your family members. So it can feel like there's pressure, but believe it or not, a lot of the action's going on from other people. So set intentions about being able to have new starts in some of these relationships, receiving support and clear communication so you can make some of the necessary changes that you need to make. Extremely fortuitous for some of you guys who are single and looking to meet somebody. I cannot state that enough. So it may manifest as meeting somebody, especially with the moon and a trine to Saturn in the third house. It may be through like an online platform, like a dating website, or through social media that you end up connecting with someone. The card that I get is the Magician, okay? So this is a great card because this is about manifestation. This is about creativity, skill, turning something into reality, inspiration, willpower, resources, and desire. So do you desire partnership? Do you desire support? Probably, Capricorn won't always admit it, but they do. And this is about bringing in people who are compassionate and sensitive and kind and soft. So people who are not going to give you more challenges or more headaches. These are going to be people who are coming in to help nurture. So it's about kind of manifesting that and also manifesting more balance, I think, in relationships and communication with some of your closest people. Good luck, Capricorn. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be experiencing a new moon in Cancer. This will be taking place in your 6th house of health, pets, daily routine, and also your office space. So for you, my Aquariuses, this is where we set new intentions revolving around our health and our health goals. This is a time to take care of your physical health and focus on creating a healthy work-life balance and incorporating self-care into your daily routine. Cancer is emotional, it's sensitive, and this is a sign that inconjuncts or quincunx is your ascendant. So it may mean that you have to actually change or transform something in order for some of these healthier habits or routines to kind of come to fruition. This is a new moon, so you're saying, okay, I am going back to the gym. I am making an appointment with my doctor. I am going in to see the dietitian. I am getting up and, maintaining a schedule, whatever. Great for wanting to look for a new job as well, if that's something that's coming up for you guys, or if you're wanting to get a new pet. Especially because there is a Venus conjunction here, which can be about creating more harmony, beauty, or bringing a new relationship into the home. Equally, if you're wanting to hire somebody to organize, design, clean, help you in some way, the 6th house can be people who can help you when it comes to your home. And this will be trining Saturn, so it's really beneficial for you as Saturn rules your chart. So it looks like you're willing to invest in your health. Saturn retrograde in the 2nd house says, maybe I'm not having the extra glass of wine. Maybe I am going to cut back on the sugar. Maybe I do need more sleep and a better routine. And you will be surprised to see, if you adhere to some new routine during this particular transit, just how much physically better you feel and how much better you feel about yourself. So really think about that, where order and routine can really emotionally kind of benefit you. And like I said, finding a new job, reorganizing your kitchen space, organizing your home. It can be new schedules and new offices that some of you guys are moving into as well. And I think with the sextiles to Uranus, your modern day ruler in the 4th house, it means that having a routine is necessary in kind of managing these new changing kind of situations when it comes to home. God forbid, with a Mars-Uranus conjunction in the 4th, let's say something breaks down in the home. Let's say, something fritzes out, or maybe, you mess something up in the kitchen, or, whatever. A new moon here is basically bringing somebody in who can come in and say, well, we can fix it, right? We can make it look better, or we can paint over it, or we can replace it. So it is kind of fortunate for that as well. It just might cost you a little bit with some of the trines to Saturn. Let's take a look. The card that you get is the King of Wands, which I like because this is about being bold and taking action. This can be about being more physically active as well. And watch for help from Aries, Leos, and Sagittariuses, because that's what this card rules. This is about being a leader, having a vision, being bold, daring. This is also about having a lot of power and optimism and taking control of the situation. So are you letting your emotions take control of you, or are you taking control of them? Certainly with the 6th house trine Saturn, it means that you're not allowing other outside things to influence you as much. Maybe you're having more balance and you're not taking certain things to heart, and you're not allowing it to affect your sense of capability or self-esteem. But I love the King of Wands with a new moon in the 6th house to just start working up a sweat and getting some cardio in, and kind of seeing how moving your body has a positive impact on your emotions. Good luck. And we have Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys will be experiencing a new moon in Cancer. This will be taking place in your natal 5th house. Now, this is happening in a fellow sister water sign, so you're going to benefit from this if you have anything from 12 to 16 degrees of Pisces. Equally, I think the middle degrees will benefit as well, because we're going to see some trines to Saturn. But when you have a new moon in your 5th house, this is focusing on new intentions in regards to creativity, self-expression, dating, happiness, hobbies, and also children. So it's a good time to express your creativity and have fun. Focus on activities that bring you joy and allow you to express your emotions. I love the conjunction to Venus. I feel like for some of you guys who are writers, bloggers, YouTubers, poets, performers, singer-songwriters, really great energy, because it's just kind of really, it's really ripe with the opportunity to feel very inspired and feel like you have a muse, or feel like you have some kind of romantic kind of love affair that's evolving, that's really helping your creative process. This can be an indication that there is opportunities also to change and transform something about the relationship that you have to your children or to a romantic partner. can be very sexy because of Venus's connection to the 8th house. So it's ripe with, if you're single, you want to meet people, this will open the door to make it possible for you to really focus on meeting a new romantic kind of partnership. It does trine your ascendant, sun or moon or rising, but specifically the trine is really hitting Saturn. And so it's basically saying like you're going, okay, this is the bar that I'm setting for myself. It needs to be this or better in relationships with your kids, in your creative projects, in anything that you create. So you're really in charge. Like it's really going to be up to you what you allow in. And I see the 5th house is kind of your heart space. Saturn's retrograde, so you're reevaluating, what are my goals? Where am I going? What am I doing? Am I happy? You know, am I experiencing joy? Not always the easiest with Saturn in your sign. So this is kind of bringing the joy back, bringing the love back. And it's also making a sextile to Mars and Uranus in your 3rd house. Like I said, it's stimulating communication, it's stimulating travel, it's stimulating learning as well. So it's a great time for new hobbies or travel. And what else is kind of going on here? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel like for all of the signs, this is going to be an interesting area to watch because we will see a Mars retrograde, you know, kind of happening from Leo into Cancer at the beginning of the year. So there's going to be much more action going on in this department. Obviously, it's a very fertile new moon being in the 5th house and also in a feminine sign. So this is a good time if you're thinking about having a kid or expanding your family. You could be doing that as well. With the sextiles to the 3rd house, maybe you're talking about it or maybe you're planning trips with your children. But those of you guys who are single, I'd encourage you to get out there because I do think with Venus in the mix, it could definitely be an opportunity to find love for sure. The card that you get is the Fool card. I like this card for you. I kind of see this as being like, yeah, why not? Like, you know, I'll start going out more and you never know what's going to happen. New beginnings. This is about innocence, originality, fearlessness, being a free spirit, fresh hopes, taking chances, new paths, and also a leap of faith. Okay. So when we think about Venus, it's about transformation in your chart, but it's also connected to the mind. So it's about kind of being like, yeah, you know what? I am going to ask that person for their number, or I am going to get on the dating website, you know, or I am going to, you know, like try to meet people, you know, outside of my local area. It's like getting outside of your comfort zone, like literally coming out of your shell with a square. This can also be about expressing yourself and kind of speaking from the heart and doing a lot of work with the inner child. So much about the Fool is about like learning how to play and having a good time and like letting go of any fears or inhibitions from kind of expressing yourself and like experiencing joy or being able to like fall in love again. And so you're kind of willing to take those risks now, and big risks, big rewards. Good luck. I hope that's helpful for you guys. Such a beautiful new moon that we have coming in. I'm really looking forward to seeing like what it manifests as, like especially when it turns into a full moon. I guess I didn't look at that. Now I'm kind of curious what that's going to look like. Let's see. So when this becomes a full moon, it looks like that's going to be happening in, oh, this will be interesting. I should have talked about this, but I'll talk about it really quick. This is going to be happening in January of next year. And when it becomes a full moon in Cancer, it's going to be conjunct Mars, trine the North Node. Wow. And there's still some trines to Saturn and also Venus. That's interesting. So, I mean, I think for a lot of us, this new moon is going to be, we're setting intentions, and where we had Venus involved, which is opening up to something, then we have Mars retrograde involved, which means now we are taking some kind of action. So best believe 6 months from now, you're definitely going to see the results of this. We'll talk about it more as we get closer to obviously this full moon in the next year. As always, thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and consider sharing. You guys can find me on X if you are on X. I'm at BTV Astro. Definitely follow me. I'm always tweeting and talking about stuff. I also have some of my videos and other things that I post there as well. If you would like to see more about me and my work, check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. The links are in the description below. We've got astro calendars, courses, personal sessions, and much, much more.
Make sure you sign up for my newsletter while you're there. And I will catch all of you guys on the other side of this new moon in Cancer. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.